It goes without saying that we enter here behind the opponent. We enter this way here and then here. So it may be a punch or something else. Of course, you must already strike him when he comes. So we do it like this. So this movement comes over the opponent's head. This is the wrong way to do it. That's how they do it in karate. We're doing this to avoid the punch. We have to touch the opponent's body here. Actually, we must down the opponent before touching his fist. Therefore, we must bring our hand over his head. Because my hand is here, he can't punch or kick. So, of course, we enter here and pin. This is how we practice the technique. When using a ken or jo, we do the movement against a thrust. Here too, before making contact, we come to his temple, then here, then his body, finally here. Before making contact, we come here, here, and then his arm, then the body, and here. This is a kind of hip training while holding the sword, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strikes. This is one way to demonstrate an Aikido technique. It is said that Aikido is a forgiving Budo. There are some people who will forgive once or twice, but there is hardly anyone who can forgive 3, 4, or 5 times. Forgiving is the highest ideal. Aikido is the spirit of one who can forgive many people. We think that this is something very important. If Aikido is a Budo of forgiveness, we must closely examine techniques with that concept in mind. By mastering these techniques, we can develop a tolerant character. This is the purpose of Aikido training. Once again. Since this is a jo, it can't cut the body. When you're cutting with a live sword, it's effective to cut soft places. But in the case of the jo, it's effective to strike hard spots. So, for example, you strike the knees and places like that with the jo. This goes without saying. When we use the ken, we are using a dull blade, so it actually doesn't matter. In the case of both the ken and jo, of course, it is more effective than striking with the fist. That is how we approach the technique. To conclude, I would like to briefly explain two shimewaza or choking techniques. It's done like this. To explain this, it's actually not that difficult. You come to this position. In the old days, you did this. If you twisted the helmet, you broke the opponent's neck. This would result in instant death. It's extremely dangerous. Since we can't do that sort of thing, we go through the motion of choking the opponent. Of course, we come to here, and while striking the opponent's jaw, we bring him here. Since we can't do that, we come here. The thumb comes here. Then you twist him around to here. It's necessary to do it this way for practice. Please understand the technique in this way. Here's another technique. This is a similar technique. This time you stay in contact with him and come here. Actually, you would do this. Or poke his eyes. You come into the jaw, and one hand pokes his eyes. It's extremely dangerous. You'll understand if you try pressing here. This is a vital point. If this is cut even a little, air comes gushing out. You can't survive for even a minute. This point here. If you are struck here even with the empty hand, it will be totally effective. So we enter from the left side, and then to here. You shouldn't pull. The opponent is controlled by his own body weight. You don't choke him with your hands. It happens by the opponent's own body weight. It's like being hanged. You are choked by your own body weight. It's the opponent's body weight. That is how we execute the technique. So, we bring him around this way, and he comes to here. I think it's best to practice the technique this way. Today I have limited myself to an explanation of just shomenuchi techniques. In our practice of empty-handed techniques, we apply the principle espoused by the founder that training in empty-handed techniques is the same as holding a ken or jo. The same principle applies to all martial arts. This is how the founder explained it. I think that is exactly true. If our way of explaining these techniques has been of some use, I hope that you will think about training according to these principles, and that this will be a benefit to the future of Aikido. Those are my thoughts. There are still many yokomen, katadori, sodedori, and ryotedori techniques. There are still many other ways of training. If there is the opportunity, I would also like to cover these areas of training. Thank you.